If I've learned anything from surviving multiple bear attacks, is that it's all about the approach. We can take these same survival skills and translate them into guitar playing, and it really comes down to phrasing, how you approach different notes in maybe like a solo, and maybe just choosing your chords and stuff like that. So we're gonna do something super simple in the key of C. I'm just gonna loop a real simple C major type deal. It's gonna sound like this. Okay, so this is going to be just kind of like a very, very intro, basic, just use a few different notes to kind of talk about phrasing, because I don't think you can really think about phrasing too early. As soon as you start thinking about putting single notes, maybe improvising, choosing what you're going to do over a chord progression, it's never too early to start thinking about how you pick those notes, how long they stay there, where you start and end on things, all right? So that chord progression was a C major to D minor, to F major to G. Okay, so in the key of C, that's a 1, 2, 4, 5 progression. If you don't know how to number those, definitely check out the entire course I made on how to do all the stuff in the link below. It takes you from absolute beginner to what we're talking about now. But basically, any note in C major is going to sound good over these chords because all these chords are in C major. Now this has a very C major sound, as you can tell right there, because I can just hit that chord and resolve on it. So that chord has a significant place in this progression, all right? That's the home chord. That's where everything kind of revolves around. So it makes a lot of sense to know the notes in that chord, okay? C major is just any combination of a C, an E, and a G note. The ones that we're going to focus on are these right here. If you're to play a C major bar chord where it's like 3 on the A string, 5, 5, 5 on D, G, and B, you don't have to play it like this, but it's great to think of these 3 notes, the 5th fret on the D, G, and B string, as being kind of like our home base, where maybe if we're starting or ending any kind of phrase, and again, a phrase is almost like a musical sentence, like how you'd pick words to speak to somebody. You want to make sure that they make sense to be understood, right? Now you can kind of just vomit notes all over the fretboard and it'll sound, you know, cohesive-ish if you're doing it all in the same key. But I think it has more importance and significance. It just sounds better when you land on what's called a chord tone, all right? So any of those things, like here, if you just watch, I'm going to play that loop again, and just watch how I'm going to end on one of these notes. And then I'll leave them, but I'm always going to kind of come back to one of these 3, all right? So... see how it just sounds kind of right whenever I'm there? That one right there, it always sounds better, or it sounds more complete, like the ending of a complete idea when I hit one of these chord tones. So, it makes a lot of sense to understand where they are and how to get to them. All right, so right now we just took this as part of a C major shape. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a pentatonic position that is associated with that key. Super easy, the C major pentatonic, A minor pentatonic, if we're looking at it from right here. 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8, right? Now, that chord is in the shape. All right, so I think that's like a great way to start introducing, maybe just kind of like to leave these notes but never get too far away from them, right? And you don't need a looper pedal to do this. You can kind of maybe just like just kind of practice. And really this one right here, I think, is the always the most appropriate place to end, right? The 5th fret on the G string. Why is that? Because this is actually the C note of a C chord. Okay? And again, I'm not telling you to, not use your creativity and to try to start and end phrasing on, maybe more interesting choices, but I definitely think that a lot of it is getting kind of like the foundation of doing this is it all comes down to like hitting those chord tones. Another great way to recognize some of the chord tones, maybe outside of scale shapes, where you're always going to hit them, is to learn an arpeggio of the main chord that you're using, right? An arpeggio is just when you play like a C major chord, just one note at a time. We said it was just a C, an E, and a G. The great thing about arpeggios is they come in different shapes that are super easy to remember, and they do all the thinking for us as far as like where we can start and end phrases. All right, so the C major arpeggio is really easy. If we start on this root note, C, the 3rd fret of the A string, we're gonna go to the 7th fret. So this is gonna be C. We're gonna kind of slide over that D note, that 5th fret. I always like getting 5 to 7, that little slide. Even though this note isn't technically in the chord, I think it sounds good to slide into it, right? So C, E, G. There's the first arpeggio, a root note, 4 frets higher, down a string, back 2 fret. We can do the same thing here, right? Now we start on the next octave of it. Like I said, that spot right there, that 5th fret on the G string, is a great place to start and end. Even just playing just this one note. Right? It almost just sounds right because it's in the key of C. So that C has a huge, important role there, right? Just like pepper spray in a bear attack. That's your first line of defense, right? So now we can start another C arpeggio right here. 2 frets, 2 more frets. And then to compensate for the B string, we're just gonna go down here. 8th fret B string, 8th fret E string. So that full arpeggio. Okay, so those give you everything that you need, just a bunch of different chord tones that you can throw over any kind of chord progression in the key of C. Now, if you want to play along with the changes of the chords, which is, I think, a really great mental exercise, along with like a finger dexterity exercise to do that, we could maybe change the arpeggio for every chord. For that C chord, we could do that arpeggio. For the D minor chord, we could find the notes in D minor by going, root note, 3 frets higher is a minor 3rd, so 5 to 8 to 70 to 7G. And then for the F and the G, same thing, right? So that's the beautiful thing about those major and minor arpeggios is the shapes always stay the same. It just depends on where you begin them, right? C, major, D, major, over and over again, right? So phrasing, super important. It's never too early to get into it. Like I said, just make a quick, easy loop, or find a song that the key of it, and then just really kind of start thinking about like, all right, this is the main chord. All my target notes that I want to hit are going to be right here. No matter how I start it, I want to start and end on a chord tone, and then just kind of listen to how that sounds. And then once you have that under your belt, then maybe you could try more exotic stuff, which maybe we could get into in like another video if you guys are interested. But I think that this is the best place to start because it is a triad chord of the home chord that is also built in really conveniently into that minor pentatonic shape. And then to kind of go through an arpeggio is a great way to kind of like supplement that chord shape with just like easy chord tones that you can throw over absolutely anything. So again, just a quick little lesson. Thanks for checking it out. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, the website, and then check out the Patreon because like I said, I have just total beginner to intermediate series plus a bunch of song lessons, and I'm always taking requests. Thanks a lot.